So today we're looking at a few things that can help change the way you think and approach your money. Now, several things can factor into improving your finances, such as knowledge, action, and even circumstances, because some people are in a better position to get ahead. But even though these play a factor, don't sleep on mindset. Now, obviously, mindset alone is not going to put more money in your bank account, but it can shift your perspective on certain things, which can point you in the right direction. So instead of getting upset about dipping into your emergency fund, be happy that you have a fund to dip into. As we know, an emergency fund is a crucial cushion that can provide a safety net in case of unexpected situations, like a job loss, medical emergencies, or unexpected repairs. And it's usually recommended to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved in your fund. But sometimes things will happen that require you to dip into your fund during the very, very early stages of building one, which can be annoying. But while it's understandable to be upset about tapping yours, it's important to remember that you have this money for a reason, which is to help you get through tough times. And this is something to always remind yourself, because I've heard about people wanting to give up on saving money because they kept experiencing setback after setback. So every time they would get to a certain point, something would happen that would force them to dip into their account. So it would constantly feel as if they were taking 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards. And I understand the frustration because I've been there, but here's the thing. At least the money was there, because if it wasn't, think of how worse the situation would have turned out. At the end of the day, dipping into your emergency fund does not mean that you failed or that you've made a mistake. It's a tool to help you when things happen outside of your control, so that you don't get into credit card debt or have to borrow the money. And in time, you'll be able to replenish the funds. Also, you have to realize that one of the fastest ways to lose control of your money is not knowing where your money goes. Knowing exactly where your money goes is key to financial stability, because it can enable you to stick to a budget and make informed decisions, which both contribute to reaching your financial goals. By tracking your expenses, you can identify areas where you may be overspending and then make adjustments to your budget accordingly. For example, if you notice that you're spending a significant amount of money on dining out, you can make a conscious effort to eat at home more often to save money. And as far as making informed financial decisions, knowing where your money goes can also give you the insight on whether you should take on additional debt, invest in a new opportunity, or make a large purchase. You might set a goal to save up money to buy a house or to pay off debt, or even to invest more in retirement. However, if you're not tracking your expenses and prioritizing your spending, there's a good chance that you're not allocating as much funds as you possibly could to reaching these goals. And along these lines, to move ahead financially, you have to identify and address any factors that might be holding you back. Taking a head in the sand approach, which involves ignoring or avoiding a problem, is easier, and it might provide temporary relief from anxiety or stress about your finances. But it can also have dangerous consequences in the long run. But by understanding what's holding you back, you can then come up with a step-by-step plan to address this obstacle. And identifying what's holding you back can be challenging, because it will require some honesty and self-reflection on your part. But it is a crucial step because it can provide a sense of empowerment and give you more control over your financial future. Also remember that you can't grow and nurture your own grass when you're too busy focusing on your neighbors. Comparing ourselves to others, and I honestly don't know why we do this to ourselves, but it can be a slippery slope, because it often leads to feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and discouragement. So it's important to remember that everyone's financial situation and journey is unique, and comparing yourself is not a fair or accurate measure of your own financial success. And when you do this, what you're actually doing is creating an unrealistic standard that might not align with your own values or goals. And of course, if you're trying to keep up with others and you're not focusing on what's important to you, this can lead to unnecessary spending or lifestyle inflation. And as I mentioned, comparing ourselves to others can be discouraging and demotivating, because you might start to feel as if you can never measure up to those around you. And once you're in your head and you start thinking these things, you might actually start to forget that everyone experiences challenges and setbacks. So instead of comparison, focus on your own goals and progress. And this involves celebrating your own accomplishments and taking steps to improve your financial situation at your own pace. The bottom line is that comparing ourselves to others rarely ends well. So you really have to focus on redirecting those thoughts, because if you're spending so much of your time and energy focusing on what other people are doing, there might be little left to focus on yourself. Keep in mind too that just because you have money to buy something doesn't mean you can afford it, because affordability depends on several factors, including your income, expenses, and goals. And one thing I've learned after all these years of talking about money topics is that a lot of people don't fully understand what it means to afford something. And so that we're all on the same page, to afford means that you have enough money to pay for something, and buying this item does not have negative consequences, and you don't have to sacrifice other financial obligations. So it's not just having money in the bank. For example, you might have enough money in the bank to cover the payment on a new car, but if you consider the entire picture, you might realize that that new car payment will make it very difficult for you to save money every month, and it might even make it harder for you to pay other obligations. And this scenario can also apply if you're pre-approved for a mortgage. When it comes to your pre-approved amount, which is the max a lender will lend you, I always say take this number with a grain of salt, because it's based on your gross income, not your take-home pay. And when a lender calculates how much you can afford to spend on a house, they will take your income and compare this with debts and expenses listed on your credit report. But as we know, some of our monthly expenses, like how much we pay for insurance or daycare, aren't listed on our credit file. So their calculation of what you can afford might be way more than you can actually afford. And if you buy at the top of your budget, you might run into problems. Also remember that contentment isn't the absence of desire, but rather gratefulness for what you have. Contentment is a state of being satisfied with what you have rather than always striving for more. And in the context of personal finance, it has many benefits. For example, it can help you avoid unnecessary spending, because if you're happy with what you have, you might not always feel the need to upgrade or replace your possessions just because you can, which can help you save money in the long run. Contentment can also help you prioritize financial goals, because if you're satisfied with your current lifestyle, you might be more inclined to save for your goals rather than seek immediate gratification. It can also reduce your stress and anxiety around money, because you don't feel the need to keep up with the latest trends or technology, and you're able to focus on what's important to you. And finally, contentment can help you appreciate the non-financial aspects of life, such as relationships, hobbies, experiences. And by learning how to value these things, you will come to realize that you don't need money to feel fulfillment, which can then lead to a more balanced and satisfying life. And I just want to point out, being content doesn't mean that you have to stay in the same place forever or that you can never improve your life. Being content means that you're not allowing what you don't have to control your happiness. That's all that I have for you guys today. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and also subscribe if you like personal finance and you want to see more videos like this. I typically post every weekend, so thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in a few days.